Okay, sorry about all of the technical issues. It's been quite a day. Since making affiliate, apparently that messed with some of the settings in Streamlabs, so I should probably switch over to actual OBS sometime soon. But anyway, hello everyone. Sorry for not being around to stream this past week. I took a trip down to Maryland and I've been dealing with things, but it's all good. I still have Frankenstein here. I really hope that this is the right place. I dropped my bookmark, so we'll see. I'll wait till a couple more people come in, and I'll just prattle until then. Hi! Hi, Josh. How are you? Okay, there's a few more people in. Wait, you're in Maryland? I thought you were... Philly's in your name. I just assumed that you were closer to Philly. I'm glad you're doing well, Josh. Oh my goodness. Okay, viewers went up really quick. Okay, I guess I don't have to kill time then. Hey, everybody. Oh, yes. Layla, my friend Moonshadow here, sent me something nice for when we're done Frankenstein, which will be possibly after tonight. Might be another read, but we'll see. But hold on. Let's get it on camera. Oh, thank you. We got a subscriber. That's so exciting. But yes, we have the Vampire Classics. I'm actually going to read it out of order. We're going to start with Carmilla and go from there because that's most of the requests I've been getting was for Carmilla. So that'll be the next story we'll read. Thank you so much, Layla. That's so awesome. It's an early birthday present. Very early. But so worth it. Thank you. So I don't remember exactly where we were in this book, but I'm assuming this is the right place. Still need to put up the other videos. I am so sorry. I have to pack all of my things to move, so it's been busy. But what it looks like, and should I do a recap? I can do a quick recap. It's been a week since I've read, so I only remember so much. But for anybody who hasn't seen any of the other live streams, it's the story of Frankenstein, and we are way past the point of the letters to the sister and the early life of Victor, who is a very, very whiny boy, and he grows up to be a very whiny man. Yes, I am moving. Yes. It's going to be interesting, but I want to be a little bit closer to friends and family. I've been up in the middle of nowhere for a very long time. Sorry if my throat's a little raspy. Okay. So they were telling about the creation of the monster, and Victor, there was a murder of a child, which some other lady got blamed for, but it was indeed the monster who did it. And so that truth has come out, and I want to call him more of a creation, or some people call him Adam, but he's made kind of a deal with Victor to where he wants him to make a mate for the creation so that he won't be alone all the time and hated by everybody. Oh, yes. And yes, I do have my mysterious blue juice. I have soda too, but this is a little easier on my throat. Oh, and with the affiliate stuff I've been working on, there are emotes, and there are fucks given. So I'm sure you guys will have fun with that. I hope you enjoy that. But this is basically where we are in the book is Victor's traveling around and not just getting right to work on this mate. He is just twiddling his thumbs. Fire and mischief. Oh, welcome. And yes, there are emotes. I'm going to be making more. Yes, the bunny emotes. Figured you guys would like that. It was fun to put together, but I'll definitely have to put some more together. I haven't had a whole lot of time to do it. All right. No more talking. Let's read a little bit. I mean, you guys can talk. I'll respond. So we're on chapter 3 of whatever volume, I forget. I sat one evening in my laboratory. The sun had set, and the moon was just rising from the sea. I had not sufficient light for my employment, and I remained idle. In a pause of consideration of whether I should leave my labor for the night, or hasten its conclusion by an unremitting attention to it. I mean, you've been kind of waiting long enough. You should probably get to it, man. As I sat, a train of reflection occurred to me, which led me to consider the effects of what I was now doing. 3 years before, I was engaged in the same manner, and had created a fiend whose unparalleled barbarity had desolated my heart. Okay, no, his only crime was that he was a little ugly. Oh, thank you, Layla. I'm glad you like my emotes. I'll make more fancy ones. Let's see, and filled it forever with the bitterest remorse. Again, his only crime when born or created was that he was ugly. He hadn't done anything. In fact, he tried smiling at Victor and talking to him, but he didn't know how. It's so sad. I was now about to form another being, of whose dispositions I was alike ignorant. She might become 10,000 times more malignant than her mate, and delight for its own sake in murder and wretchedness. He did not enjoy murdering. He did not. That's a lie. Victor, that's a lie. He had sworn to quit the neighborhood of man, and hide himself in the deserts, but she had not. And she, who in all probability was to become a thinking and reasoning animal, might refuse to comply with a compact made before her creation. I'm already messing up. They might even hate each other. The creature who already loathed his own deformity, and might he not conceive a greater abhorrence for it when it came before his eyes in a female form? No, that would not happen. Nothing wrong with a gal with bloodlust, you know. As long as she has certain considerations, it's not so bad. She also might turn with disgust from him. Ooh. Oh, Prometheus cheered. Thank you. And hi, Prometheus. It's so good to see you. I'm sorry I haven't been on Twitch for a while. I've missed a few people's streams, and I feel really, really bad. But it's been busy. It's been hectic. But it'll be fixed. In a couple of weeks, we'll be good. No more complications. Oh, you just got home. Well, welcome home. I'm not in... Well, I guess I am kind of in your home. I can welcome you home. She also might turn with disgust from him to the superior beauty of man. She might quit him, and he be again alone, exasperated by fresh provocation of being deserted by one of his own species. I don't think that would happen, but okay. I mean, it could. I guess nothing's ever a guarantee. You should have worked with fresh ingredients. Even if they were to leave Europe and inhabit the deserts of the New World. Yet one of the first results of those sympathies for which the demon thirsted would be children, and a race of devils would be propagated upon the earth, who might make the very existence of the species of man a condition precarious and full of terror. That sounds a bit racist, my friend. That sounds a little bit racist. Had I a right, for my own benefit, to inflict this curse upon everlasting generations? I had before been moved by the sophisms of the being I had created. I had been struck senseless by his fiendish threats, but now, for the first time, the wickedness of my promise burst upon me. I shudder to think that future ages might curse me as their pest, whose selfishness had not hesitated to buy its own peace at the price, perhaps, of existence of the whole human race. Could you not? Come here. Come here. Sorry, my cat's coming to say hello. Come on. Yeah, you want to sit on my lap? Here. Here's Kasaba. I'm sure you guys have already met him a million times, but just in case, for anybody who doesn't know him. There you go, baby. Yeah. He likes story time, don't you? Okay, guess whatever this is. Okay, thank you. I trembled, and my heart failed within me, when, on looking up, I saw, by the light of the moon, the demon at the casement. A ghastly grin wrinkled his lips as he gazed on me, where I sat fulfilling the task which he had allotted to me. Oh, we got a few things. So just to translate, Victor gave his son functional genitals, apparently. And apparently he could give his mate a functional vagina. Well, it's not the vagina that's really the concern, it's the uterus. Vagina's not a challenge, it's the uterus that's the challenge. Really had to think about that. Yeah. Apparently those are the only fresh ingredients he had. Yeah, I'd rather not think about it too. Okay, could you let me read, please? You're very cute. Sorry, I just got home earlier today, so he's very, very clingy. Oh, Cheesecake! Thank you, Cheesecake. Oh, I love you, Cheesecake. So much. So much. You guys are awesome. Oh, okay. Oh, are you okay? Tell them. Don't snuggle it. No, I'm sorry. You gotta say it. Tell them. Go on. Can I read? Can I do that? Can I read? Oh, he's so cute. Oh, Cheesecake, you're so sweet. Just like this guy right here, who's nudging me constantly. I missed you too. Now let me read. Really? I'm sorry, buddy. I'm sorry. Here, go up. You can go up on your spine. Go right up here. You got it? Here you go. He started grooming himself right in front of the mic. He is very adorable. He's very sweet. Kind of a butthole sometimes, but that's okay. That comes with cats. Yes, he had followed me in my travels. He had loitered in forests, hid himself in caves, or taken refuge in wide and desert heaths. And he now came to mark my progress and claim the fulfillment of my promise. Man, he is really patient, because this has been another year. Something like that. As I looked on him, his countenance, whatever, expressed the utmost extent of malice and treachery. Or he's lonely and he's excited. He could just be excited. I thought with a sensation of madness on my promise of creating another like to him. It says like to him. It should just say like him, but okay. And trembling with passion, tore to pieces the thing on which I was engaged. Idiot. The wretch saw me destroy the creature on whose future existence he depended for happiness, and, with a howl of devilish despair and revenge, withdrew. So Victor's not very smart. He's very educated because he grew up a rich spoiled boy with an amazing, supportive family. Oh my God, they love him so much, but he does not deserve them. And, Victor, you done fucked up. He's going to find out what's going to happen. I left the room, and locking the door, made a solemn vow in my own heart never to resume my labors. And then, with trembling steps, I sought my own apartment. I was alone. None were near me to dissipate the gloom, and relieve me from the sickening oppression of the most terrible reveries. Several hours passed, and I remained near my window, gazing on the sea. It was almost motionless, for the winds were hushed, and all nature reposed under the eye of the quiet moon. A few fishing vessels alone specked the water, and now and then the gentle breeze wafted the sound of voices, as the fishermen called to one another. I felt the silence, although I was hardly conscious of its extreme profundity. It's a weird word. Until my ear was suddenly arrested by the paddling of oars near the shore, and a person landed close to my house. Wonder who it could be. And a few minutes later, I heard the creaking of my door, as if someone endeavored to open it softly. Oh, what's Nightbot doing? I'm sorry, I need to fix Nightbot again. It really hates caps. Yeah, I'm so sorry, X-Ray. I'm gonna have to go in and fix that at some point. I thought I fixed it enough, but apparently it didn't. But there are commands where you can be mean to Nightbot if you wish to try to figure them out. You can bully him. They. Nightbot. If you want to get back at them. And by the way, welcome. I'm so glad to see you. I've missed you. Where was I? I trembled from head to foot. I felt the presentiment of who it was, and wished to rouse one of the peasants who dwelt in a cottage not far from mine. But I was overcome by the sensation of helplessness, so often felt in frightful dreams, when you in vain endeavor to fly from the impending danger, and was rooted to the spot. Yeah, well, you're also a coward, so there's that. That is one way. You know what? I am going to make that a new command, the Bad Nightbot. I'm trying to keep my commands in the 40s, but we're already at 48, so I might just have to go up to 50. But that's going to be one, definitely. Actually, there should be a command for a hug, and that should be sufficiently mean to Nightbot. Let's see. Yep, see, there we go. None for Nightbot, be sad. Stop looking. Stop that. Thank you. Presently I heard the sound of footsteps along the passage. The door opened, and the wretch whom I dreaded appeared. Shutting the door, he approached me, and said, in a smothered voice, "You have destroyed the work which you began. What is it that you intend? Do you dare break your promise? I have endured toil and misery. I left Switzerland with you. I crept along the shores of the Rhine, among its willow islands, and over the summits of its hills. I have dwelt many months in the heaths of England, and among the deserts of Scotland. I have endured incalculable fatigue, and cold, and hunger. Do you dare destroy my hopes? Begone! I do break my promise. Never will I create another like yourself, equal in deformity and wickedness. Slave, before I reasoned with you, but you have proved yourself unworthy of my condescension? Condescension? There we go. That's it. Remember that I have power. You believe yourself miserable, but I can make you so wretched that the light of day will be hateful to you. You are my creator, but I am your master. Obey. The hour of my weakness is past, and the period of your power is arrived. Your threats cannot move me to do an act of wickedness, but they confirm me in a resolution of not creating you a companion in vice. Shall I, in cool blood, set loose upon the earth a demon whose delight is in death and wretchedness? Begone! I am firm, and your words will only exasperate my rage. Okay, so now he can give a fuck about something? Alright. The monster saw my determination in my face, and gnashed his teeth in the impotence of anger. Shall each man, cried he, find a wife for his bosom, and each beast have his mate, and I be alone? I had feelings of affection, and they were requited by detestation and scorn. Man you may hate, but beware. Your hours will pass in dread and misery, and soon the bolt will fall which must ravish from your happiness forever. Are you to be happy, while I grovel the intensity of my wretchedness? You can blast my other passions, but revenge remains, revenge henceforth dearer than light or food. I may die, but first you, my tyrant and tormentor, shall curse the sun that gazes on your misery. Beware, for I am fearless, and therefore powerful. I will watch with the willingness, okay, that's the word, of a snake, that I may sting with its venom. Man, you shall repent of the injuries you inflict. Devil, cease, and do not poison the air with these sounds of malice. I have declared my resolution to you, and I am no coward to bend beneath words. Leave me. I am inexorable. You can't reason with him. So Darth just reads while looking good. I can take it. Aw, thank you. Sometimes I play games as well. So far it's just been Diablo. I mean, I've only just started this channel. It's all pretty new. We're not even a month in yet. Technically, we're still just at 2 weeks, because last week I didn't stream. Translation. You fucked around, Victor. Get ready to find out. Right? Play stupid games. Win stupid prizes. That seems to be Victor's life, unfortunately. For everyone around him, unfortunately. Not even for him. He's still going strong, doing great, but just being sad. It is well, I go. But remember, I shall be with you on your wedding night. Oh. Oh my. I started forward and exclaimed, "Villain! Before you sign my death warrant, be sure that you are yourself safe." I would have seized him, but he eluded me, and quitted the house with precipitation. In a few moments I saw him in his boat, which shot across the waters with an arrowy swiftness, and was soon lost amidst the waves. Wow, he's like Sonic the Hedgehog, but on water. All was again silent, but his words rung in my ears. I burned with rage to pursue the murderer of my peace, and precipitate him into the ocean. I walked up and down my room hastily and perturbed, while my imagination conjured up 1,000 images to torment and sting me. Why had I not followed him, and closed with him in mortal strife? But I had suffered him to depart, and he had directed his course towards the mainland. I shudder to think who might be the next victim sacrificed in his insatiate revenge. He told you who. He just said it. He just said it. That was the last thing he said to you. But okay. And then I thought again of his words. Here we go. Clever Victor. I will be with you on your wedding night. That then was the period fixed for fulfillment of my destiny. In that hour I should die, and at once satisfy and extinguish his malice. You're an idiot, Victor. If he wanted to kill you, he would have done it. Then and there. The prospect did not move me to fear. Yet when I thought of my beloved Elizabeth, of her tears and endless sorrow when she should find her lover so barbarously snatched from her, tears, the first I had shed for many months, streamed down my eyes, and I resolved not to fall before my enemy without a bitter struggle. Are you okay? I know that Elizabeth loves him. His whole family is wonderful and loves him, but that's a lot to assume that someone would be so broken up over you. Especially since he's not a very good person. I don't know why he is so loved, but he is. He's so loved by everybody. The night passed away, and the sun rose from the ocean. My feelings became calmer, if it may be called calmness. When the violence of rage sinks into the depths of despair, I left the house, the horrid scene of the night's contention, and walked on the beach of the sea, which I almost regarded as an insuperable barrier between me and my fellow creatures. Nay, a wish that should prove the fact stole across me. I desired that I might pass my life on the barren rock, warily, it is true, but uninterrupted by any sudden shock of misery. If I returned, it was to be sacrificed, or to see those whom I most loved die under the grasp of a demon whom I had myself created. I walked about the isle like a restless spectre, separated from all it loved, and miserable in the separation. When it became noon, and the sun rose higher, I lay down on the grass, and was overpowered by a deep sleep. I had been awake the whole of the preceding night, and my nerves were agitated, my eyes inflamed by watching and misery. The sleep into which I now sunk refreshed me, and when I woke, I again felt as if I belonged to a race of human beings like myself, and I began to reflect upon what had passed with greater composure, yet still the words of the fiend rung in my ears like a death knell. They appeared like a dream. yet distinct and oppressive as a reality. Again, play stupid games, win stupid prizes. He's gonna find out. The unfortunate part is that he has a bunch of loved ones, and he knows they're at risk with this creation that he's made and the threats that he's made. But he still fucked up anyway. He still did the dumb. He did the dumb things. The sun had far descended, and I still sat on the shore, satisfying my appetite, which had become ravenous, with an oaten cake. What's an oaten cake? When I saw a fishing boat land close to me, and one of the men brought me a packet. It contained letters from Geneva and one from Clairvaux, entreating me to join him. He said that nearly a year had elapsed since we had quitted Switzerland, and France was yet unvisited. He entreated me, therefore, to leave my solitary isle and meet him at Perth, in a week from that time, when we might arrange the plan of our future proceedings. This letter in a degree recalled me to life, and I determined to quit my island at the expiration of 2 days. You're just gonna go fuck around with your friend for a while, just completely forget the threat. Okay. Yeah, okay. Yet before I departed, there was a task to perform on which I shuddered to reflect. Like everything in his life, he just shudders and cries. I must pack my chemical instruments, and for that purpose I must enter the room which had been the scene of my odious work, and I must handle those utensils, the sight of which was sickening to me. The next morning, at daybreak, I summoned sufficient courage, and unlocked the door of my laboratory. The remains of the half-finished creature whom I had destroyed lay scattered on the floor, and I almost felt as if I had mangled the living flesh of a human being. I paused to collect myself, and then entered the chamber. With trembling hand I conveyed the instruments out of my room. But I reflected that I ought not to leave the relics of my work to excite the horror and suspicion of the peasants, and I accordingly put them into a basket with a great quantity of stones, and laying them up, determined to throw them into the sea that very night. And in the meantime I sat upon the beach, employed in cleaning and arranging my chemical apparatus. Sorry, my contacts are moving around in my eyes. Nothing could be more complete than the alteration that had taken place in my feelings since the night of the appearance of the demon. I had before regarded my promise with a gloomy despair, as a thing that, with whatever consequences, must be fulfilled, but I now felt as if a film had been taken from before my eyes, and that I, for the first time, saw clearly. The idea of renewing my labors did not for one instant occur to me. The threat I had heard weighed on my thoughts, but I did not reflect that a voluntary act of mine could avert it. I had resolved in my own mind that to create another like the fiend I had first made would be an act of the basest and most atrocious selfishness, and I banished from my mind every thought that could lead to a different conclusion. No, Victor, you could have saved lives, and you could have given love and kindness to someone who never had it, that you couldn't even give to the person. This guy is a piece of work. Between 2 and 3 in the morning, the moon rose, and I then, putting my basket aboard a little skiff sailed out about 4 miles from the shore. The scene was perfectly solitary. A few boats were returning toward land, but I sailed away from them. I felt as if I was about the commission of a dreadful crime, and avoided with shuddering anxiety any encounter with my fellow creatures. At one time the moon, which had before been clear, was suddenly overspread by a thick cloud, and I took advantage of the moment of darkness, and cast my basket into the sea. I listened to the gurgling sound as it sunk, and then sailed away from the spot. The sky became clouded, but the air was pure, although chilled by the northeast breeze that was then rising. But it refreshed me and filled me with such agreeable sensations that I resolved to prolong my stay on the water, and fixing the rudder in a direct position, stretched myself at the bottom of the boat. Clouds hid the moon, everything was obscure, and I heard only the sound of the boat as its keel cut through waves. The murmur lulled me, and in a short time I slept soundly. It seems uncomfortable to sleep on a boat. I've tried, and it was not fun. I do not know how long I remained in this situation, but when I awoke I found that the sun had already mounted considerably. The wind was high, and the waves continually threatened the safety of my little skiff. I found that the wind was northeast, and must have driven me far from the coast from which I had embarked. I endeavored to change my course, but quickly found that if I again made the attempt, the boat would be instantly filled with water. Thus situated, my only resource was to drive before the wind. I confess that I felt a few sensations of terror. Yeah, because, again, he played another stupid game. He fell asleep in a little boat on the water, and now he's winning a stupid prize of being stranded out at sea. Kind of deserves that. I had no compass with me, and was so little acquainted with the geography of this part of the world that the sun was of little benefit to me. I might be driven into the wide Atlantic and feel all the tortures of starvation, or be swallowed up in the immeasurable waters that roared and buffeted around me. I had already been out many hours and felt the torment of a burning thirst, a prelude to my other sufferings. I looked on the heavens, which were covered by clouds that flew before the wind, only to be replaced by others. I looked upon the sea. It was to be my grave. Fiend, I exclaimed, your task is already fulfilled. No, it's not, but okay. I thought of Elizabeth, my father, and of Clerval, and sunk into a reverie, so despairing and frightful, that even now, when the scene is on the point of closing before me forever, I shudder to reflect on it. You shudder to reflect on everything. Like every little thing that this guy is telling in his story, he shudders to reflect on it. Or he's so sad about it. So poor Victor. He's so sad. Some hours passed thus, but by degrees, as the sun declined towards the horizon, the wind died away into a gentle breeze, and the sea became free from breakers. But these gave place to a heavy swell. I felt sick, and hardly able to hold the rudder, when suddenly I saw a line of high land towards the south. Almost spent, as I was, by fatigue, and the dreadful suspense I endured for several hours, the sudden certainty of life rushed like a flood of warm joy to my heart. The tears gushed from my eyes. Oh no, don't waste your water. Drink your tears. How mutable are our feelings, and how strange is that clinging love we may have of life even in the excess of misery. I constructed another sail with a part of my dress, and eagerly steered my course towards the land. It had a wild and rocky appearance, but as I approached nearer, I easily perceived the traces of cultivation. I saw vessels near the shore, and found myself suddenly transported back to the neighborhood of civilized man. I eagerly traced the windings of the land, and hailed a steeple, which I at length saw issuing from behind a small promontory. As I was in a state of extreme debility, I resolved to sail directly towards the town as a place where I could most easily procure nourishment. Fortunately, I had money with me. Okay, so he's not a complete idiot. Just 90% of an idiot. So, that was his one smart thing he did. As I turned to the promontory, I perceived a small, neat town and a good harbor, which I entered, my heart bounding with joy at my unexpected escape. Whoever's texting me needs to stop. Okay. Please don't. Please don't do that. No, not while I'm streaming. I'm so sorry. I cannot answer. As I was occupied in fixing the boat and arranging the sails, several people crowded towards the spot. They seemed very much surprised at my appearance, but instead of offering me any assistance, whispered together with gestures that at any other time might have produced in me a slight sensation of alarm. As it was, I merely remarked that they spoke English, and I therefore addressed them in that language. "My good friends," said I, "will you be so kind as to tell me the name of this town, and inform me where I am?" "You will know that soon enough," replied a man with a gruff voice. "Maybe you are..." Hold on, this is a weird sentence. "Maybe you are come to a place that will not prove much to your taste. But you will not be consulted as to your quarters, I promise you." I was exceedingly surprised on receiving so rude an answer from a stranger, and I was so disconcerted on perceiving the frowning and angry countenance of his companions. "Why do you answer me so roughly?" I replied. "Surely it is not the custom of Englishmen to receive strangers so inhospitably. Oh my God. I'm so sorry. Take a moment. They were inhospitable. Oh, I can say it that way. All right. English. It's a great language. I love it so much. This is why I'm learning 5 other languages. One day I'll get better. "I do not know," said the man, "what the custom of the English may be, but it is the custom of the Irish to hate villains." I mean, he is a villain, actually, so this guy isn't wrong. While this strange dialogue continued, I perceived the crowd rapidly increase. Their faces expressed a mixture of curiosity and anger, which annoyed and in some degree alarmed me. I inquired the way to the inn, but no one replied. Then I moved forward, and a murmuring sound arose from the crowd as they followed and surrounded me, when an ill-looking man approached, tapped me on the shoulder and said, "Come, sir, you must follow me to Mr. Kirwan's to give an account of yourself." "Who's Mr. Kirwan? Why am I to give an account of myself? Is not this a free country?" "Aye, sir, free enough for honest folks. Mr. Kirwan is a magistrate, and you are to give an account of the death of a gentleman who was found murdered here last night." The answer startled me, but I presently recovered myself. I was innocent. That could easily be proved. Accordingly, I found my conductor in silence, and was led to one of the best houses in town. I was ready to sink from fatigue and hunger, but being surrounded by a crowd, I thought it politic? Okay, I've never seen the word used like that, but okay. I found it politic, there we go, politic to rouse all my strength, that no physical debility might be construed into apprehension or conscious guilt. Little did I then expect the calamity that was in a few moments to overwhelm me and extinguish in horror and despair all the fear of ignominy or death. Yeah, my English isn't great. I must pause here, for it requires all of my fortitude to recall the memory of the frightful events which I am about to relate in proper detail to my recollection. Okay, let me refill my drink real quick. Might take a sip of soda as well. I only have a few people in here, so I might not stream too long tonight. I do have a lot of work to do, so it might be a short stream, which is perfectly fine. We can finish this book on the next one. Take a sip of both. You can barely read, so this is nice. Oh, thank you. Apparently, I can barely read English. I mean, most German words flow through. It's like butter, so smooth. But then I look at my own language and I'm like, the hell is this? What is this crap? It's ridiculous. It's a silly language. Okay, so now we're on chapter 4 of whatever volume this is. I keep forgetting. It changes like every so many chapters. Maybe it's volume 3? It might be volume 2. I was soon introduced into the presence of the magistrate, an old, benevolent man, with calm and mild manners. He looked upon me, however, with some degree of severity, and then, turning towards my conductors, he asked who appeared as witnesses on this occasion. About half a dozen men came forward, and one being selected by the magistrate, he deposed that he had been out fishing the night before with his son and brother-in-law, Daniel Nugent, when about 10 o'clock they observed a strong northerly blast rising. Excuse me, a little hiccup. And they accordingly put in for port. It was a very dark night, as the moon had not yet risen. They did not land at the harbor, but as they had been accustomed, at a creek about 2 miles below. He walked on first, carrying a part of the fishing tackle, and his companions followed him at some distance. As he was proceeding along the sands, he struck his foot against something, and fell all his length on the ground. His companions came up to assist him, and by the light of their lantern they found that he had fallen into the body of a man, who was, to all appearance, dead. Their first supposition was that it was the corpse of some person who had been drowned, and was thrown on shore by the waves. But upon examination they found that the clothes were not wet, and even that the body was not then cold. They instantly carried it to the cottage of an old woman near the spot, and endeavored, but in vain, to restore it to life. He appeared to be a handsome young man, about 25 years of age. Okay, that's a weird way of saying it, but that does make sense, I guess. He had apparently been strangled, for there was no sign of any violence, except the black mark of fingers on his neck. Now, this sounds familiar, doesn't it? The first part of this deposition did not in the least interest me, but when the mark of the fingers was mentioned, I remembered the murder of my brother, and felt myself extremely agitated. My limbs trembled, and the mist came over my eyes, which obliged me to lean on a chair for support. The magistrate observed me with a keen eye, and of course drew an unfavorable augury from my manner. The son confirmed his father's account, but when Daniel Nugent was called, he swore positively that, just before the fall of his companion, he saw a boat, with a single man in it, at short distance from the shore, and, as far as he could judge by the light of a few stars, it was the same boat in which I had just landed. I mean, a lot of small boats look the same, but okay, make your assumptions. Okay, a little bit of soda. This really isn't great for the throat, but here I am. Excuse me. Let's see. A woman deposed that she lived near the beach, and was standing at the door of her cottage waiting for the return of the fishermen, about an hour before she heard of the discovery of the body, when she saw the boat with only one man in it, pushed off from that part of the shore where the corpse was afterwards found. Another woman confirmed the account of the fishermen having brought the body into her house. It was not cold. They put it into a bed and rubbed it, and Daniel went to the town for an apothecary, but life was quite gone. Several other men were examined concerning my landing, and they agreed that with the strong north wind that had arisen during the night, it was very probable that I had beaten about for many hours, and had been obliged to return nearly to the same spot from which I had departed. Besides, they observed that it appeared that I had brought the body from another place, and it was likely that, as I did not appear to know the shore, I might have put into the harbor, ignorant of the distance of the town, of whatever. There's no name there. It's just blanks from the place where I had deposited the corpse. Mr. Kirwin, on hearing this evidence, desired that I should be taken into the room where the body lay for interment, that it might be observed what effect the sight of it would produce on me. This idea was probably suggested by the extreme agitation I had exhibited when the mode of the murder had been described. I was accordingly conducted by the magistrate and several other persons to the inn. I could not help being struck by the strange coincidences. Sorry, it took me a moment. My contact is giving me a hell of a time, so I can only read out of one eye. That had taken place during this eventful night. But knowing that I had been conversing with several persons in the island I had inhabited about the time that the body had been found, I was perfectly tranquil as to the consequences of the affair. Oh, hearts to you, Philly. Hold on. Hearts to you as well. It was actually a good place. Hold on. Okay, yeah, that. Good place right as I ended the page. Perfect timing. I entered the room where the corpse lay, and was led up to the coffin. How can I describe my sensations on beholding it? I felt yet parched with horror, nor can I reflect on that terrible moment without shuddering and agony that faintly reminds me of the anguish of the recognition. The trial, the presence of the magistrate and witnesses passed like a dream from my memory, when I saw the lifeless form of, Henry Clerval, stretched before me. Should have made the mate. I gasped for breath, and throwing myself on the body, I exclaimed, "Have my murderous machinations deprived you, also, my dearest Henry, of life? 2 I have already destroyed. The other victims await their destiny, but you, Clairvaux, my friend, my benefactor." The human frame could no longer support the agonizing suffering that I endured, and I was carried out of the room in strong convulsions. Yet, see, you should have just done it. You should have just finished your work. Because the creation's not going to kill you. The creation's going to kill everybody around you and make you just as alone as he. A fever succeeded to this. I lay for 2 months on the point of death. My ravings, as I afterward heard, were frightful. I called myself the murderer of William, of Justine, and of Clairvaux. Sometimes I entreated that my attendants to assist me in the destruction of the fiend by whom I was tormented, and at others I felt the fingers of the monster already grasping my neck, and screamed aloud with agony and terror. Fortunately, as I spoke my native language, Mr. Kirwan alone understood me, but my gestures and bitter cries were sufficient to affright the other witnesses. Hi. Do you want on my lap? You want to come over? The kitty came back. Come on. Come on. It's all right. Here. Come back over. Say hello. Hello. I think he's grumpy, but I can't tell. He's grumpy, but he still loves me. Here we go. I think he's just looking for a place to sleep. Stumpkin! Yeah, you just jumped on for kitty time. He missed me a lot this past week. He's a little clingy tonight. But yes, welcome. Thank you for joining. I'm just stumbling over my words again, you know, the usual. Oh, my goodness. All right. So, what you missed so far is Victor decided to make a bad decision and not make a mate for his creation. And he then fell asleep on a boat and got himself lost at sea and went and ended up finding his way to another island where a murder had taken place. And it turned out to be his friend. And, you know, it's obvious who actually did it. Let's see. And, oh yeah, now he's like super sick again because of his friend being dead. Why did I not die? More miserable than man ever was before. Oh, Victor. Oh, so sad. But all of your misery is self-inflicted. Why did I not sink into forgetfulness and rest? Death snatches away many blooming children, the only hopes of their doting parents. How many brides and youthful lovers have been one day in the bloom of health and hope, and the next a prey for worms and the decay of the tomb. Of what materials I was made, that I could thus resist so many shocks, which like the turning of the wheel continually renewed the torture. But I was doomed to live, and in 2 months found myself as awakening from a dream in a prison, stretched on a wretched bed, surrounded by gaolers? I don't know what that is. Turnkeys, bolts, and all the miserable apparatus of a dungeon. It was morning, I remember, when I thus awoke to understanding. I had forgotten the particulars of what had happened, and only felt as if some great misfortune had suddenly overwhelmed me. But when I looked around and saw the barred windows and the squalidness of the room in which I was, all flashed across my memory, and I groaned bitterly. You did it to yourself. There are innocent victims here, but you are causing all of this, Victor. This sound disturbed an old woman who was sleeping in a chair beside me. She was a hired nurse, the wife of one of the turnkeys, and her countenance was expressed all of those bad qualities which often characterize that class. The lines of her face were hard and rude, like that of persons accustomed to see without sympathizing in sights of misery. Her tone expressed her entire indifference. She addressed me in English, and the voice struck me as one that I had heard during my sufferings. Dude, not everybody is going to be amazing and love you like your family. Ugh, he's such a spoiled brat. Come on. Are you better now, sir? Said she. I replied in the same language with a feeble voice. I believe I am. But if it be all true, if indeed I did not dream, I am sorry that I am still alive to feel this misery and horror. For that matter, replied the old woman, if you mean about the gentleman you murdered, I believe that it were better for you if you were dead, for I fancy it will go hard with you, but you will be hung when the next sessions come on. However, that's none of my business. I am sent to nurse you and get you well. I do my duty with a safe conscience. It were well if everybody did the same. I turned with loathing from the woman who could utter so unfeeling a speech to a person just saved on the very edge of death, but I felt languid and unable to reflect on all that had passed. The whole series of my life appeared to me as a dream. I sometimes doubted if indeed it were all true, for it never presented itself to my mind with the force of reality. As the images that floated before me became more distinct, I grew feverish. A darkness pressed around me. No one was near me who soothed me with the gentle voice of love. No dear hand supported me. The physician came and prescribed medicines, and the old woman prepared them for me. But utter carelessness was visible in the first, and the expression of brutality was strongly marked in the visage of the second. Who could be interested in the fate of a murderer but the hangman who would gain his fee? These were my first reflections, but I soon learned that Mr. Kirwin had shown me extreme kindness. He had caused the best room in the prison to be prepared for me. Wretched indeed was the best. You know what? Shut up. Shut up. You were such a whiny baby. And it was he who had provided a physician and a nurse. It is true he seldom came to see me, for although he ardently desired to relieve the sufferings of every human creature, he did not wish to be present at the agonies and miserable ravings of a murderer. He came, therefore, sometimes to see that I was not neglected, but his visits were short, and at long intervals. One day, when I was gradually recovering, I was seated in a chair, my eyes half open, and my cheeks livid like those in death. I was overcome by gloom and misery, and often reflected that I had better seek death than remain miserably pent up, only to be let loose in a world replete with wretchedness. At one time I considered whether I should not declare myself guilty and suffer the penalty of the law, less innocent than poor Justine had been. Such were my thoughts when the door of my apartment was opened, Mr. Kirwin entered. His countenance expressed sympathy and compassion. He drew his chair close to mine and addressed me in French. I fear that this place is very shocking to you. Can I do anything to make you more comfortable? I thank you, but all that you mention is nothing to me. Oh, man. Get out of here. Go. Stinky cat. He just passed gas, and it's gross. Go to your litter box, please. It's so gross. Please don't do that. I lost my place now. Thanks, Cassava. But all that you mention is nothing to me. On the whole earth there is no comfort which I am capable of receiving. I know that the sympathy of a stranger can be but of little relief to one borne down as you are by so strange a misfortune. But you will, I hope, soon quit this melancholy abode, for doubtless evidence can easily be brought to free you from the criminal charge. Oh, hey, Power Rob is here. Yeah, Jerry's a messy boy, but he's so cute. Thankfully, Kasaba hasn't been messy today. He's just being very clingy and smelly. Gross. He's still kind of hovering about, waiting for me to let him back up. Maybe I'll allow it. I don't trust him. He made me lose my place again. Oh, Cassava. I love this cat. I love him so much. I'll probably finish this chapter. Oh my god. It's a long chapter. Oh, is he? Is he actually being snuggly? You know what? You answer that while I find my place. I'm not doing so great with my reading tonight. My contacts keep moving. Oh, well that's good at least. I'm sure you can use some kitty cuddles right about now. Let's see. That is my least concern. I am, by course, I really hope that's the place I was on. I may have skipped. No, that's where we are. Oh, you're on the floor? Oh, that's adorable. That's so sweet. That is my least concern. I am, by a course of strange events, become the most... Oh, God. I love this story. I just hate reading anything that Victor says. The most miserable of mortals. Persecuted and tortured as I am and have been, can death be any evil to me? You know what, just... Everybody's dying around you, but you're the one that's suffering. Okay. Alright, Victor. I love the story, but I'll be happy to move on to vampire stories soon. Nothing indeed could be more unfortunate and agonizing than the strange chances that have lately occurred. You were thrown, by some surprising accident, on this shore, renowned for its hospitality. Seized immediately, and charged with murder. The first sight that was presented to your eyes was the body of your friend, murdered in so unaccountable a manner, and placed, as it were, by some fiend across your path. As Mr. Kirwin said this, notwithstanding the agitation I endured on this retrospect of my sufferings, I also felt considerable surprise at the knowledge he seemed to possess concerning me. Well, yes, you've been raving for months in your native tongue. I suppose some astonishment was exhibited on my face for Mr. Kirwan hastened to say. It was not until okay, I'm sorry. Okay, let's hope this doesn't move again. It was not until a day or two after your illness that I thought of examining your dress, that I might discover some trace by which I could send to your relations an account of your misfortune and illness. I found several letters, and, among others, one which I discovered from its commencement to be from your father. I instantly wrote to Geneva. Nearly 2 months have elapsed since the departure of my letter. But you are ill. Even now you tremble. You are unfit for agitation of any kind. Please say it's his father finally saying, I don't love you anymore, son. It would be great. He would deserve that. This suspense is 1,000 times worse than the most horrible event. Like your friend dying, and your brother dying, and some innocent lady dying, that you didn't bother to try to save. Tell me what new scene of death has been acted, and whose murder I am now to lament. Your family is perfectly well, said Mr. Kirwan, with gentleness. And someone, a friend, is come to visit you. I know not by what chain of thought the idea presented itself, but it instantly darted into my mind that the murderer had come to mock at my misery, and taunt me with the death of Clerval as a new incitement for me to comply with his hellish desires. I put my hand before my eyes and cried out in agony, because that's all you do. Oh, take him away. I cannot see him. For God's sakes, do not let him enter. Yeah, this guy's so dumb. Mr. Kirwan regarded me with a troubled look. He could not help regarding my exclamation as a presumption of my guilt, and said in a rather severe tone, I should have thought, young man, that the presence of your father would have been welcome instead of inspiring such violent repugnance. My father, I cried, while every feature and every muscle was relaxed from anguish to pleasure. Is my father indeed come? I read that right. It definitely says that. How kind, how very kind. But where is he? Why does he not hasten to me? Because you are repugnant, Victor. My change of manner surprised and pleased the magistrate. Perhaps he thought that my former exclamation was a momentary return of delirium, and now he instantly resumed his former benevolence. He rose and quitted the room with my nurse, and in a moment my father entered it, his wonderful, understanding father. Nothing at this moment could have given me a greater pleasure than the arrival of my father. I stretched out my hand to him and cried, Are you then safe? And Elizabeth and Ernest? My father calmed me with assurances of their welfare, and endeavored by dwelling on these subjects so interesting to my heart, to raise my desponding spirits. But he soon felt that a prison cannot be the abode of cheerfulness. What a place is this that you inhabit, my son? Said he, looking mournfully at the barred windows and the wretched appearance of the room. You travel to seek happiness, but a fatality seems to pursue you. And poor Clerval, the name of my unfortunate and murdered friend, was an agitation too great to be endured in my weak state. I shed tears. He also caused the death of his friend. Just saying. He did that. Alas, yes, father, replied I. Some destiny of the most horrible kind hangs over me, and I must live to fulfill it, or surely I should have died on the coffin of Henry. We were not allowed to converse for any length of time, for the precarious state of my health rendered every precaution necessary that could ensure tranquillity. Mr. Kirwan came in and insisted that my strength should not be exhausted by too much exertion. But the appearance of my father was to me like that of a good angel, and I gradually recovered my health. So this is the second time Victor has been sick for a very long time, multiple months. The first time was when he actually made the creation and then just kind of forgot it. He got sick, he let it loose, and then didn't care. He kind of forgot about him for 2 years. Yeah, great guy. He's not dumb at all. Absolutely brilliant. As my sickness quitted me, I was absorbed by a gloomy and black melancholy that nothing could dissipate. I'm sorry if my eyes are rolling every time I read this guy's text. The image of Clairvaux was forever before me, ghastly and murdered. More than once, the agitation into which these reflections threw me made my friends dread a dangerous relapse. Alas, why did they preserve so miserable and detested a life? Oh. All right, I've got one eye. It was surely that I might fulfill my destiny, which is now drawing to a close. Soon, oh, very soon, will death extinguish these throbbings and relieve me from the mighty weight of anguish that bears me to the dust. And in executing the award of justice, I shall also sink to rest. Then the appearance of death was distant, although the wish was ever present to my thoughts, and I often sat for hours motionless and speechless, wishing for some mighty revolution that might bury me and my destroyer in its ruins. The seasons of the assize approached. I had already been there 3 months in prison. So they left him in there knowing that he's innocent. They just fucking left him in there. Okay. And although I was still weak and in continual danger of relapse, I was obliged to travel nearly 100 miles to the county town where the court was held. Mr. Kirwan charged himself with every care of collecting witnesses and arranging my defense. Oh, that's so nice. How does this guy keep ending up with being surrounded by these awesome people? I was spared the disgrace of appearing publicly as a criminal. As the case was not brought before the court that decides on life and death, the grand jury rejected the bill on its being proved that I was on the Orkney Islands at the hour the body of my friend was found, and a fortnight after my removal, I was liberated from the prison. That's gotta be awful. My father was enraptured on finding me freed from the vexations of a criminal charge, that I was again allowed to breathe the fresh atmosphere, and allowed to return to my native country. I did not participate in these feelings, for to me the walls of a dungeon or a palace were alike hateful. The cup of life was poisoned forever, and although the sun shone upon me, as upon the happy and gay of heart, I saw around me nothing but a dense and frightful darkness, penetrated by no light but the glimmer of 2 eyes that glared upon me. Yeah, and all the eyes that are kind of rolling as you speak. Sometimes they were the expressive eyes of Henry, languishing in death, the dark orbs nearly covered by the lids, and the long black lashes that fringed them. Sometimes it was the watery, clouded eyes of the monster, as I first saw them in my chamber at Ingolstadt. My father tried to awaken in me the feelings of affection. He talked of Geneva, which I should soon visit, of Elizabeth and Ernest, but these words only drew deep groans from me. God, he's worse than the most moody goth kid. And this is coming from a moody goth kid. I mean, come on. That's bad if I'm making fun of you. Sometimes, indeed, I felt a wish for happiness, and thought, with melancholy delight, of my beloved cousin, or longed with a devouring malady du pays. I hope I said that right. I don't think I did. To see once more the blue lake and rapid Rhone. Is it Rhone? I think it's supposed to be Rhine, but it's written as Rhone. No, maybe it is Rhone. I'm not sure. That could possibly be a mistake. That had been so dear to me in early childhood. And maybe the Rhone was the lake. But my general state of feeling was a torpor in which a prison was as welcome a residence as the divinest scene in nature, and these fits were seldom interrupted. But by anguish and despair. At these moments I often endeavored to put an end to the existence I loathed, and it required unceasing attendance and vigilance to restrain me from committing some dreadful act of violence. Why don't you commit it on yourself? I remember, as I quitted the prison, I heard one of the men say, "He may be innocent of murder, but he has certainly a bad conscience." These words struck me. A bad conscience. Yes, surely I had one. Yep. Yeah, you do. William, Justine, and Clairvaux had died through my infernal machinations. And whose death, cried I, is to finish the tragedy? Ah, my father, do not remain in this wretched country. Take me where I may forget myself, my existence, and all the world. My father easily acceded to my desire, and after having taken leave of Mr. Curwen, we hastened to Dublin. I'm so sorry you have to see my eye freaking out. I felt as if I was relieved from a heavy weight when the packet sailed with a fair wind from Ireland, and I had quitted forever the country which had been to me the scene of such misery. That seems to be every country he goes to. Seriously, he says that about every place he leaves. Every place is miserable. At this point, it's not a moody goth kid. At this point, it's kind of over emotional, emo kid, I guess. It's a lot of self-loathing. It was midnight. My father slept in the cabin, and I lay on the deck, looking at the stars and listening to the dashing of the waves. I hailed the darkness that shut Ireland from my sight, and my pulse beat with a feverish joy, when I reflected that I should soon see Geneva. The past appeared to me in the light of a frightful dream, yet the vessel in which I was, the wind that blew me from the detested shore of Ireland, and the sea which surrounded me, told me too forcibly that I was deceived by no vision, and that Clairvaux, my friend and dearest companion, had fallen a victim to me and the monster of my creation. I repassed in memory my whole life, my quiet happiness while residing with my family in Geneva, the death of my mother, and my departure for Ingolstadt, I remembered shuddering at the mad enthusiasm that hurried me on the creation of my hideous enemy. And I called to mind the night during which he first lived. I was unable to pursue the train of thought. 1,000 feelings pressed upon me, and I wept bitterly. I swear this is how every page ends. Work needs me? Oh, okay. Well, take care. It's okay. This isn't going to be a very long stream tonight. I have too much to do anyway. But I appreciate you coming by. Ever since my recovery from the fever, I had been in the custom of taking every night a small quantity of laudanum? Laudanum? I don't know what that is. For it was by means of this drug. Oh, it's drugs. Okay. Oh, man, I just lost my place. No, it was by means of this drug only that I was enabled to gain the rest necessary for the preservation of life. Is it sleeping meds, or are you on the good stuff? Oppressed by the recollection of my various misfortunes, I now took a double dose, and soon slept profoundly. But sleep did not afford me respite from the thought and misery. My dreams presented 1,000 objects that scared me. Towards morning, I was possessed by a kind of nightmare, which they wrote nightmare different back then. There's a hyphen in between night and mare. I felt the fiend's grasp in my neck, and I could not free myself from it. Groans and cries rung in my ears. My father, who was watching over me, perceiving my restlessness, awoke me, and pointed to the port of Holyhead, which we were now entering. I really hope that was how you read that. Alright, so that's the end of that chapter, and we've done about an hour and a half. So I think we are going to cut this a little bit short, and we don't have too many viewers anyway. So the next chapter is chapter 5 of, again, I forget which volume this is, because it's been over a week since I've read, which I apologize. That will not happen again. I'll be reading again Saturday night, same time, 10 p.m., but I'll actually read a little bit longer. Hopefully my contacts will behave and my voice won't be as cracked. But we can take a look and see if we can rate somebody. Let's see if someone's live. Look at all these people. We have so many people. Okay. We did Philly last time, so I think we're going to go after my friend Rev, who does some amazing work. So let's do this. Sorry, my mic is like right in my way. Okay. There he is. Alright, so thank you all for coming by. I really appreciate it. I know I haven't been here since I got affiliate. I feel very bad for that, but I'm back home, so I'll be streaming regularly, and we'll be moving soon. So you might see a new background in a couple of weeks, and it'll be more fancy. Thank you, Stumpkin. Alright, let's go see Rev and have a fun time with him.